Republic for his statement. I now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Minister. It's a delight to see you in the Security Council President's chair. We're also pleased to see at today's meeting the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Colombia, Mr. Carlos Holmes Trujillo, the advisor, and the entire Colombian delegation. We thank the head of the UN Verification Mission in Colombia, Carlos Ruiz Massieu, for presenting the Secretary General's report and for telling us in detail about the work of the mission and the developments in the situation in the country over the last 3 months. Everyone that we spoke to during the visit underscored the important role played by the verification mission and the need for its presence in the country as an important factor guaranteeing the implementation of the peace agreement. The report of the Secretary General prepared us very well for the mission to the country, which took place successfully from the 11th to the 14th of July, and we thank the government of Colombia and the verification mission for the excellent organization of the mission. And in today's meeting, we will use our impressions from this visit to form the basis of our statement, because it's better to see things once than hear things 100 times. Because we were able to see things with our own eyes and to feel the fabric, the fine fabric and the difficulties, as well as the successes that there are in the country when it comes to implementing the peace agreement. And of course, of not small importance during our visit was coming to know these incredible fruit called tree tomatoes and the producers of those fruits. And the distinguished representative of the United Kingdom can't even imagine how much he hit the nail on the head, because when he was talking about prospective export markets for this fruit in Russia, I just read an article about how they could possibly bring this fruit to New York. So I think that Russia is not necessarily the only export market for this fruit, and that perhaps even the European Union might want to become involved in that, particularly Germany, because I seem to recall that my friend Christoph also quite liked this product. Now, getting back to serious matters, I would like to begin by confirming that Colombia really is a genuine example of effective international assistance for stabilization in the country. And this support was possible because the Colombians themselves decided to take to reach the life-changing final peace agreement. Over the 2.5 years since it was signed, a great deal has been done in the country. In 2017, the process of former combatants handing over their weapons was concluded, and very recently, the Special Jurisdiction for Peace fully began its work. And these positive steps are ensuring that the Colombian peace process has the support of the Secretary General and the UN Security Council. We welcome the commitment of the government to its obligations under the final peace agreement, and once again we received assurances on this during our trip to Colombia. This commitment needs to be continued and put into practice, although we understand that this isn't always easy. The most striking example of this over the last 3 months was the aforementioned signing by President Ivan Duque on the 6th of June of the statutory law for the Special Jurisdiction for Peace. It's no secret to anyone that disagreements around this document had for a long time polarized society, in spite of the fact that it is stipulated in the final peace agreement. And this sort of hard but necessary decision is something that there's going to be a great deal of in the future. And that is why we fully agree with the Secretary General that the impending constitutional reforms in Colombia require broad internal dialogue. At such a responsible stage, the most important thing for the government should be the job of unifying society. But a lot needs to be done in addition to this. There's a great path to still be covered on the path to genuine stabilization. During the visit, we heard criticisms over the stalled agrarian reform and the insufficient financing of government programs. We heard concerns over the future fate of the territorial areas for training and reintegration, which are key to people returning to normal life, to peaceful life. Former combatants who've laid down their arms must become fully fledged members of Colombian society with the same political and socio-economic rights and opportunities. An important aspect, and many have spoken about this, is ensuring security in those areas, including, today this was mentioned, in those areas that have been liberated from the internal armed conflict. As we can see in the report of the Secretary General, the absence of the state in vast areas is leading to an increased risk of security for the civilian population, including disarmed former combatants. Their lives are threatened by illegal armed formations that are trying to gain control over territory. A confirmation of this is something that we all heard during the mission. And we very well understand that people don't have much choice when it comes to ensuring their security. Either they can rely on the protection of the government or they can take up arms themselves once again. The dangers that are inherent in the second option is something I don't think I need to explain. The same goes for agrarian reform, because people don't just need to protect themselves, they also need to feed themselves. And if the government's promises aren't kept, then people are going to start growing the things that are best able to feed them. Simply put, not solving matters of security and employment will inevitably lead to an increase in the number of dissidents. We've long been cautious, been following with concern media reports saying that some former combatants are leaving government programs and once again taking up arms. During the mission, we often asked our interlocutors what, in their view, would be a key to the successful stabilization process in the country. And they told us something interesting. In addition to the reintegration of former combatants, ensuring security, and programs for socio-economic development, many of the representatives of civil society told us that genuine peace in the country won't be possible without the inclusive work with absolutely all players within Colombia, including the National Liberation Army, the ELN. It's hard not to agree with this, and we believe that the government should also listen to this opinion from the population. In this context, we were pleased to see the letter that the Secretary General received on the 26th of May, underscoring readiness to find a political solution to disagreements with the government. Mr. President, in conclusion, I would like to repeat that here in the Council, we have repeatedly said that Colombia is a showcase of effective international support, and today it should become a showcase for national ownership over the fate of the country. Russia, as a permanent member of the Security Council, stands ready to continue to provide support to the Colombian peace process, provided that the government remains committed to the fully fledged implementation of the final peace agreement. And today there was a reference made to the situation concerning migrants from Venezuela, a large number of which are on the territory of Colombia. I'd like to say that resolving domestic Colombian problems doesn't depend on the situation in Venezuela, but on the Colombians themselves. We trust that the verification mission in Colombia, in which Russian staff members also work, will continue to play a significant role in supporting the reintegration of former members of armed groups in peaceful life and political activity. Thank you.
Agradezco al representante.
I thank the representative of the Russian